Okay,
any
it's
other-
11 o'clock.
Give us 1 minute. Is anybody else in the
Steven's
agenda?
on,
Okay.
but it's just, I think I have
Perfect.
it where it's only people with videos are showing.
And we are recording and we're good. Becky, you're all set.
Okay, at 11 o'clock, I will call this executive committee meeting to order. If Mary would help us with the roll call. Oh,
Well,
I'll do
if
the
we can do the-
accessibility statement first.
Perfect.
This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries with regard to the Federal Title VI Non-Discrimination Protections and the State Non-Discrimination Protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. And now we're ready for roll call.
Thank you. And just for the guests who are here, this is the executive committee meeting and we do invite other members, but I'll start first with the executive committee. President Becky Coletta.
Present.
Treasurer Christine Joy.
Present.
Executive committee member Stephen Santusonio.
Present.
Executive committee member Sandra Wright.
Present.
OCPC alternate from Whitman, Dan Salvucci.
Present.
Great, and as I mentioned, we will, so that's a roll call, and for in office, we have Charlie Kilmer, Sean Noel, Brenda Robeson, Megan Fournier, and Emmanuel, pronounce your last name for me? Opomo, thank you very much for staff.
Thank you. So first item on the agenda is to review the OPEB GASB 74 and GASB 75 actuarial valuation report that was prepared for Odyssey Advisors.
Yes.
So, Mary, I'll turn it over to you to make the
Would you
introduction.
please? Thank you. And first and foremost, I wanted to say a big thank you to Parker Elmore and to both Curtis and Luke. We had a last minute, hey, we need to invite you to this meeting that we're having. So members, all our council members have received a copy of the report. So they've had it about a week. And many had some questions and it's actually the treasurer. But if we could just have you introduce yourself and then maybe just do a quick overview, just to give you a little bit of a, so who, Luke.
Sure. Yeah, so my name's Curtis Thompson. I am a consulting actuary at Odyssey Advisors, and we have prepared your GASB 74, 75 evaluation. Luke is here with me, and he's another member on our team who worked on your valuation. And so, yeah, we have been doing this I've been doing this for about 12 years now. Luke has been about 5 or 6 years on the team, and we've been working with you guys for quite a while to prepare these plans. So we did not prepare anything in advance. We can certainly walk through the report with you or just jump right into the questions that people have. And I can also overview a little bit of what GASB 74, 75 is, if you guys would like that, just as some framework for what we're talking about.
And you know what, I think that would, thank you. I think that's a great place to start, is to provide an overview, including, you know, this is done every 3 years. And so if you could do that, just to do the overview.
Sure.
And then if there's any questions then from the council members.
So GASB 74 and 75 are the accounting standards that govern how we report OPEB benefits. OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. So anything that's promised to an employee when they retire, except for the pension plan. The pension plan is valued separately. It's got its own thing. OPEB is everything else that you could possibly promise someone in retirement. Generally, and for you guys, that is life insurance, medical insurance, dental insurance. Some people, you know, might have, you know, a stipend or, you know, sick time that people can accrue over time, but you guys don't have any. For you guys, that's medical insurance and life insurance. So if somebody has worked for you for, I believe it's 55 and 10. So if someone has achieved 55 years of age and 10 years of service, they become eligible to retire and receive a medical benefit. So what we're doing is valuing today what the value of those costs are. That's called total OPEB liability. And so total OPEB liability is we take all the cash flows that we project, 100 years out into the future for all of your current active and retired participants, bring all of those projected cash flows back to today and say, here's how much, if you were to settle the liability for your plan today, here's how much it would cost. And then we have other things that go into it, so that's your balance sheet item. There also is your income statement items that GASB 7475 tells us about, which is how much are your benefit payments for the year? So what are you paying out for retirees? Service cost is something that is accruing. Every active employee is accruing some benefit during the year, so that it doesn't just all show up when they retire, but they get a little piece of that benefit every year on your balance sheet and income statement. We have interest, we have deferred inflows and outflows, but that's getting a little bit more into the accounting things that most people don't really care about. But generally what we're doing is tracking the expenses related to the plan and the total liability associated with the plan. Mary had mentioned every 3 years. It used to be every 3 years that you guys were required to value this, and now it's actually every other year. So GASB 7475 changed that. GASB 43 and 45, it was every 3rd year. Now it's every other year. In addition, for GASB 74 and 75, because your plan has assets, which is a great place to be in, and not only do we value the plan every year, or every other year, but every year we'll do a roll forward. So this is a full valuation. Next year we'll roll these numbers forward, get the new asset numbers, figure out what interest rates are, and give you a new report that's just rolling numbers forward. And then, a year after that, we'll do a full valuation all over again. So that's kind of the cycle that you guys follow on, is a big valuation every other year. And then in that interim year, you have a much faster, easier report that is just updating asset information essentially.
Thank you. That's really helpful. What I'm going to do at this point is to maybe Becky and the council members who are there to ask questions, and then certainly any other staff once the council has asked. But Christine, I know I'm supposed to leave with you because I know you had a few questions, but
it was, am I on? Yeah, I'm not muted. It was more, I just wanted to run through it, just to have a better understanding of what this meant. I don't know if Luke or Curtis would comment on our $60,000 that we put towards OPEB annually, if that's sufficient. It was basically just an overview. I feel like, since we created the trust and we're more active, that I just wanted a better understanding of what this all meant. Sure.
So let me, if I can, I think you've given me access to share screen, or have you not? I do not have access to share my screen.
I can do that once again.
Okay. Because it might be easier if I pull up some numbers on your report, and we can kind of walk through some of
I have the report, but I think maybe you'll know where to find everything. So let me just.
Yeah, and I can certainly just point people to, I can certainly point people, to their correct page, but it might be easier if it just pulls up on screen for people.
You should have access now.
All right. Let's see. All right.
Good. I had it pulled up on another screen.
All right. So yeah, everybody should be seeing my screen now. So this is your valuation. You can see at the bottom here, Old Colony Planning Council for 2025 fiscal year. This is page number 3. So if you're going based off of the page numbers, we're on page number 3. So essentially what this is projecting out into the future everything that we value for your plan. So liabilities, assets, service costs, benefit payments, all of those wonderful things. And because you guys are funding, this page looks pretty good compared to most people. So I'll draw your attention to column number 3. The 3rd Roman numeral says net OPEB liability. Net OPEB liability is your total OPEB liability minus your assets. And so that's really what ends up on the balance sheet as a net number. And so as you can see right now, you have $625,000 that's showing up as a liability on your balance sheet. But the nice number right next to it is that you are about 70% pre-funded. And so that's a pretty good place to be in compared to your peers and compared to the state. And that also means that you have a little bit of flexibility. Yes, question on that.
Curtis, when you say we're in a pretty good shape, what is the more typical percentage for organizations like
So,
ours?
so it really, it can vary pretty dramatically. We see that some people have very little to no funding, which is probably about 30 to 40% of people, although GASB 74, 75 is encouraging more people to have funding. When you start talking about having 70% pre-funded, I don't have our exhibit right now in front of me. I'm not sure if Luke knows that number, but I would think that puts you in about the 80th percentile, maybe something like 90th percentile. So you're better than 80 to 90% of your peers, which is a very healthy place to be. And it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of managing the plan into the future. And as you can see, with your $60,000 contribution, that has you getting completely pre-funded, which does not necessarily mean that you're done making any contributions, but it does mean that you have enough assets to cover the current liabilities in 2036. Interestingly, that's about the same time where a lot of towns and municipalities are going to be getting to full funding on their pension system. And I would imagine you guys are in a similar place as well. So are right on track to have these really big obligations getting to the place of fully funded at about the same time.
So we're in a unique position on our pension because we are working with the state to be covered by the state retirement board. And there's a question as to whether we will, that's a whole different ballgame, whereas the OPEB, we do seem to have our own liability for the low OPEB. So it's good to know
Sure.
that we're at that position.
Yeah. And that $60,000 it's hard to say if that's a good number. I mean, that's something that you guys have to plan out with. You have lots of other things competing for money. But right now that number gets you to a full funding place in about 10 years, which is beneficial and will give you, again, a lot more flexibility where you can start making payments out of the trust. And what we encourage people, once you're fully funded, what you end up having or desiring to do is look at column number 5 is service cost. So service cost is the amount of benefits that are being accrued by active employees each year. And then the column right next to it is employer share of benefit payments. So that's how much is being paid out for retirees each year. So if you think about it, $100,000 is being added to the liability each year. And when we get to 2036 from the active employees, and $150,000 is coming off the liability each year because you're paying that out in cash. And so what we recommend people do at that point is you put the $100,000 into the trust and you pull the $150,000 out of the trust. And you don't actually have to do it that way. You could just do the net number, but that puts you in a place where you can start getting some relief on your cash flow, where that $60,000 doesn't have to go in. And for you guys, we project, which, one thing I can guarantee you about these numbers is that they are wrong. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. This is my best guess, but I do not know what's going to happen in 10 years. But right now we project that you would be able to start pulling $50,000 a year out of that trust. And that would, free up cash for you guys to do other things with it.
How about any other questions from the council members? Yeah, Charlie? Sean?
No.
Brenda? I was gonna say, this is,
We've been looking at this for a week now, so.
Yeah.
So the one thing that seems to vary in the report is the insurance premiums that are going to be, the value, the cost of those premiums and projections on the cost of those premiums. And that seems to have, because a big part of our OPEB liability is related to those supplemental premiums. for people who are Medicare and for premiums for people who are able to retire before that point. We have a lot of volatility right now in the health insurance premium field. I don't even know what to call it.
Hmm.
So, how are you guys handling that level of risk or uncertainty?
So for us, we have, let's see if I can pull up. So we have a model here, which projects out your increase in premiums every year. So this is developed by the Society of Actuaries and based off a lot of economic factors. You can see all the things that go into it, and there's a ton of detail behind this. But the mainline thing is in the next 20 years, we project about these rates of inflation. So 9%, 8%, going down from there. So currently we're projecting about 5% per year increases in your medical care costs. Now, to your point, that number, it could be 20%, and then, you could have a plan design change and it could be negative 20%. So there is a lot of volatility within these numbers. And so the way that is handled, right, we project all of this out, but then each year you have experience. And so we have, this is your current year. So we're currently showing $88,000 as a loss for the plan, which means that we expected, your liabilities to be X, and your liabilities are actually X plus $88,000, right? So you have more liability than we expected. And so if you have that excess premium volatility, it would show up here as a deferred inflow or outflow. And essentially what that means is over the average remaining lifetime of your working employees, which is 6.15 years, we project, or then we amortize this $88,000 as an expense, so that you end up showing $14,000 of expense for the next 6 years, related to the fact that experience was different from expected. And so that's all premiums that don't turn out the way we expected them to would flow through that number.
I just remember what it was like in the early 2000s, and I think we've seen it a little bit more lately, where insurance premiums going up, and if especially before the Affordable Care Act. And so I am just concerned that as the funding goes away for a lot of those things over the next couple of years, that our numbers may be overly optimistic. But I imagine that with us being at close to 70% funding, we're in a better position to absorb any increases in premiums than other governmental entities.
Yes, that definitely puts you in a place where you can absorb some of those things. Theoretically, if you decided to, if the board voted, you could start pulling money out of the trust right now to make benefit payments. Now, the money in that
Really?
trust can only be used for benefit payments, but yeah, any money that's in the trust, you could pull it out now to make benefit. So let's say that 2025 is turning out to be a bad year financially. And you need some financial, that's why I was saying you have flexibility. You need some financial flexibility because, a major repair comes up and you need the cash. Well, you're not obligated for that $60,000 of funding. The only actual obligation you have is the benefit payments. And because of the amount of money that you have in the trust, you could, if you needed to, pull the, $92,000 of benefit payments out of the trust.
Okay, it would be going in the reverse. It's not ideal, but it gives us that flexibility in the case of more urgent circumstances.
Right. It's not the ideal, but that's why you pre-fund things, so that if a situation is really bad, you've got options. And so, yeah, you don't necessarily want to start treating this like a piggy bank where you break open anytime you need money. But it is an option that you can, if you really need to, you could pull money out of the trust but only for benefit payments. So you can't use it for anything else, but you can make the benefit payments from that trust.
And for Odyssey's knowledge, this is why the transparency of our board, the finance team, that's why anything that comes through, we make sure. The other piece that was noted is that it's not every 3 years, so this is done every other year. If I heard that right?
Mhm.
Yes.
right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
having that more frequency keeps us posted as to the projections. To your point, we ourselves look at those insurance premiums and, it's what it is. But it also provides benefits to our employees that we treasure and that we respect in the work that we do. So, this is really helpful. The other piece that I noted that I'm not quite sure if we knew this from the last time, but we filed the report with PARAC for the executive committee's perspective, when we accept the report it is, the action is, but we did not put necessarily action on the agenda, but it was more to have you all take a look at it, because it's not like a debate and it's not like a, hey, go back and see if this is the report that comes to us. So the executive committee can take a formative, and say we accept it. But these numbers will then be provided, and perhaps at the next finance meeting, if there was further questions from the council, that could be another time as we move forward. But I think the analysis in terms of the report, and certainly what's been provided today, is helpful to all of us, the staff, as well as for the council members.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll add as we wrap up, just to contribute to that conversation about premium volatility. One thing to be aware of for this plan is that usually about 70 to 80% of the liability is related to post-65 premiums. Because you think about it, if somebody retires at 62, they're only getting a couple of years of premiums before 65, and then they're going to be Medicare eligible, and most of the premiums come from Medicare eligibility. So when a lot of funding goes away for a lot of things, what we care about most is what happens to the Medicare plans. What's the status of Medicare, the Medicare supplement? What's that going to look like? And how can you manage plan design on those plans? That's what's going to affect your costs much more than for the OPEB. You have other costs for active employees, but for OPEB, what matters most is the post-65 Medicare supplement premiums.
Right, I think that's, being someone who turned 65 in October, but fully employed, but still, right? But it is one of those things I think that's a healthy. Christine, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming in. It really made this much more easy to understand for me, and I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of good information that you've shared with us.
It is. And since this has been
Of course.
recorded, this recording will be shared with the other members, because I do think, we always have complication. It's a complicated system anyway, right? Our grants, our funding sources, the assessment, all of it, and then having this be added to it. So staff or anybody else on our side?
Well, thank you guys very much, because you have so much knowledge that even in these few minutes you've conveyed a lot to us. So thank you.
Right. Thank you.
We appreciate you guys bringing us out, and we work in it every day. So if you have questions or things like that, we're always happy to help. We're here and to jump on a quick meeting or to shoot an email. So any questions, you can feel free at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Curtis, do we want to mention the investment allocation quickly? I know Parker had talked about that briefly this morning.
We can. That's a good point that I forgot about. I can I'll bring my screen back up.
I know it's not an urgent thing, but...
So one thing that we noticed as we were looking at your plan, let's see, this is the sample investment policy. So they were with Plymouth County.
I think that's right.
Yes, we just
Yeah,
moved
we
over
just
to Plymouth
changed.
County. Yes.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
moved to them.
Okay, so this is a new thing moving to Plymouth County. And so Plymouth County has this basic trust, which is great, for an OPEB plan. One thing, again, for you guys, because of the unique position that you are in, is as you, over the next 10 years, get to that place of full funding, which you guys have just made the move into this investment account. But as you get to this place of being fully funded, you want to consider the risk allocation of this portfolio. How much risk do you want to take on? Because once you're fully funded, you're not really trying to chase returns as much anymore. Ideally, you're trying to to balance the return with the liability. So we see a lot of people, if you do get to that place of full funding, becoming more conservative with their portfolio to try to make sure that you don't have, this status where you got to fully funded and then all of a sudden a bad year in the market means you went from, 110% to 60%, and you're like, now, it goes away on its own over time, but like it's those kind of bumps in the road that psychologically hurt. And so we would just want to be aware of that. Luke, did you have anything else to add on the investment allocation?
No, I think you covered it more, just again, not a today issue, but again, as you start to approach that 100% funded mark, just something to be aware of in the next 10 years or so.
No, that's helpful. I think that we will add that to the discussion in 2 years when we come see you again and have you come before us and run through this, because I think right to the council members. And we can, again, through Christine, the treasurer, and at the finance meeting, perhaps even just have this as just a general discussion after any other things that may come up. So that's really helpful.
Charlie, that responsibility may fall to you, because I don't think any of us are gonna be here in 10 years.
Well, no, that's a great point, Lou, because that's no different than people funding their 401ks or 457s. The closer you get to retirement, the less aggressive growth you want, because I've seen people that keep it aggressive when the market fell out in the housing market.
Mhm.
Yeah,
2008, 2009, and they lost half the value. So no chance to recover. So.
So that really is, that's helpful. I mean, just to your
It's
point,
especially, it's different as you think about, like as an individual, you have one life, right? And you age through, your population isn't just moving one direction. But because you have a relatively mature population, which means that your service costs and your benefit payments are about level, you're in a place where the demographic makeup of your population is not going to change very much, right? And so, we're mostly focused on the assets. It's slightly different because you have assets on one hand and demographics on the other hand, right? So the timing of how these two things go together is different from retirement. So we have another factor to manage. But for you guys, it's a very helpful thing to think about that way at this point in time. And that can obviously change in the future as people retire, as you hire new people, things change. But that's why we revisit this every other year.
And we have some of our OPEB trust fund trustees, I think, on this call, right? So it's good for them to hear this.
well, thank
All
you.
right.
Until Parker Elmore, we said hello and appreciate his responsiveness. So thank you.
Of course,
Thank you,
you're very
guys.
welcome.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
Mary, do you want us to take action in any way, or should we just
Why
save this
not?
for later?
Since you have the executive committee, at least just to accept, yes, correct.
So can we get a motion to accept the report, the evaluation report prepared by Odyssey Advisors?
I'll make that motion. I'll second that.
All right, thank you, guys. Roll call?
Becky Coletta? Christine Joy?
Yes.
Stephen Santisonio?
Yes.
Sandra Wright? Lee Hartman?
yes.
Dan Salvucci?
Yes.
And Allison Shane?
Can I vote?
Sure, you're part of the council. It's executive committee representing the council, so since you're a council member, please do vote.
Okay, aye.
Thank you. So that is unanimous.
Okay, thank you. So now we have this fraudulent incident, which I don't know if Mary, if you or one of the people in the finance team are going to explain what happened.
I will start. The memo was sent in the packet and it was really a joint effort by all about the action, when it happened, what was taken, what action internally was taken, and our continued discussion. The latest from Rockland Trust is that they're still investigating that, and that came as of late yesterday. But it was, again, our OPEB. So it's related to this topic and then the next item, but basically we were in the process and working with Christine and authorizing for an online payment for the OPEB trust. And unfortunately, that element was not done in time. So it was our payment, the last payment that we had before going over to the ACH. And it was hacked somehow along the way without kind of getting into great details as the memo described, but it was mailed, it was, overnight.
Yes.
And never made it to the place it was, somehow got hijacked, in the process. Things were whited out, names were put on there, so I think that's a shortened summary, wanted to alert, and quite frankly, this memo was drafted, and in the meantime, this is when the fire was happening and the Fall River stuff, so there was a lot of things that happened. The memo should have gone out, a bit sooner than it did, but the other piece is that with Rockland Trust, we do have that positive pay where that, they did allow that payment to go through, so, there is no doubt in our minds that, we will not be, it will not come out of our account because the Rockland Trust system seemed to have had a bit of
Yeah,
some.
there was definitely a breakdown in that whole positive
Right.
pay system.
But that's the piece that's still being investigated. We did file a police report, all the right things that we did internally. In the meantime, Sean's computer had crashed and we had to get that rebooted up, and there was a whole lot of different elements, but we will be made whole of because it was, how much was the check for?
5,000.
5,000. So,
Oh, okay, it wasn't.
again,
wasn't much.
yeah, no.
I thought it was the whole 60,000 originally when we talked
Yeah.
about it.
No, no.
But to the council members, staff did everything they possibly did, right? This goes back to like all the checks and balances that we have in play. The only one piece is just our continued conversations with Rockland Trust to make sure that positive pay, they, paying a little bit more attention to the
Yeah.
plate when, because Brendan and Sean go through the system and they will see and like literally sign off on those checks being processed. So, again, just happens to be just another little bump in the road and, yeah.
Well, I think the
Questions?
fact that we have positive pay in place puts the responsibility more squarely on Rockland Trust. They also, possibly should have caught the fact that the check had been whitewashed and
Mhm.
changed.
Mhm.
So there are two elements of fraud there that we would expect the bank to catch.
Mhm.
I will say that as an attorney who, like today, I have a wire for hundreds of thousands of dollars coming into my account, right? You do real estate, you wire and send this money. We always consider sending a check via mail to be particularly, we consider that to be one of the safer forms, particularly if it's overnight delivery. And so there may also be some insurance there on the carrier side for the overnight delivery, but I don't think it would be for this much money.
No, the only thing they told me we would be able to do, because I went to the post office that day. Because it looks like it never made it out of the Los Angeles facility. Their tracking software takes it into the Los Angeles Postal Service, but it never left. So
They should
it's
be
not tracked.
reporting that. Make sure they report that up because the Postal Service is one of the most aggressive about internal investigations because they
gotta
need the
say,
integrity of the postal system and they will prosecute their own workers for this.
Yeah, I think we do need to go back to, we've been more focused on getting Rockland Trust to get us our money back. But I agree with you. The guys in the Brockton post office seem pretty nonchalant about the whole thing. They're like, well, you can get your overnight fee back, which is $30, but so.
First trial I ever saw was of a postal worker being prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for, actually he was throwing away marketing mail rather than delivering it. But that's a huge moneymaker for the Postal Service and they promise the customers that it's going to get delivered. And so they have cameras, this was years ago and I'm sure it's gotten more sophisticated. So they should be able to track that down and make sure this doesn't happen again.
So the only thing I would just add is because when we filed the Brockton Police report, again, it becomes, we file it, but what they do with it is a question of, okay, they file it, put it into the circular system, I don't know, but we will follow up particularly with making sure the postmaster, because that's what we did it out of, but as you said, they tracked it to Los Angeles. My comment to the council members, number one, just to make sure you were aware of it. Staff is doing their job. Certainly we'll follow up and stay on top of this with Rockland Trust. And now with your input, certainly with the Postal Service, just to see what they can do to, I mean, some of this is on our Rockland Trust to be doing that work, but I think for us just to rely on them, I think we also just need to maybe do a follow-up with the Postal Service.
there-
Becky, if I may,
Yes, Andy, go ahead.
Mary, is there another way that we can probably go through the bank through, go through their pace, online pay that they have, that you can pay it direct to the company instead of sending checks? I
Well,
mean, isn't
So
that a
that
safer
is-
way?
Yeah, there is, and we were in the process of that. So when we changed companies, when we changed, it was, what am I thinking of?
Oh, the investment
The-
management, yeah.
Right, the investment management, they were requesting us but because of our process, Christine signed off on it, and by the time we got that going, it was, we had this last payment, was the last payment by mail. So that was the ACH, that is the next item on the agenda that we're moving to that, so that should prevent. But again, just because it's done online, it's, as we know, like it's the cybersecurity piece. With our millions of dollars that we get through and pass through and things of that nature. So to answer your question, Sandy, we were in process of having it be, particularly the OPEB, check that we sent is now going to be, by ACH.
And,
Is it-
and Mary, does the ACH still have a positive pay? Does that count as something that is covered by positive pay?
Brenda's saying
Or
yes.
does that take it out from under that?
Yes, it does.
Brenda said yes, so that does. Lee?
Is there another carrier, FedEx or UPS, that might be safer than the Postal Service? Is that something we should consider?
No.
I would consider the Postal Service much more aggressive at monitoring
Just
the
asking.
process.
Yeah, but to your point, Lee, we can certainly ask some questions in terms of what security, so the carrier for the OPEB check will know is pretty much a no issue because we're now moving to ACH on that.
Right.
But generally, as we may have to, I mean, there's been times that we've had to overnight a check to a vendor because they lost a check or something, or we lost it, whatever. So to your point, we certainly will investigate carriers and to check their security level of protecting our very hard worked dollars. So we'll look into that.
Sean, for the payments that go out, like on the aging grants that pass through us,
Yes.
how do those get delivered? ACH, or how do you send that
You mean
money?
payments to us or payments that we make to them? So grantees, those are all
Yes.
delivered by check,
They are, okay.
so.
So that's all
we
covered
have-
by the positive pay.
If
Yes.
you remember, right, those are all covered by positive pay, and, what led us into positive pay was the last issue we had with some of these. That we think got lifted either out of our outgoing mailbox or
During COVID.
during COVID or something along those lines. We never really were able to find out whether they got lifted out of our outgoing mail or whether they actually made it into the postal system and then got hijacked from there. But at this point, any outgoing check is taken directly to the post office and delivered there. It does not go into a box. It does not go into it's always handled directly to the post office, and we haven't had any problems until now. So,
I'm thinking of the bigger payments, like if we have a payment, does the money for
OCES.
Old Colony Elder
those-
go through us?
Right. Old Colony Elder, anything large, as a matter of fact, I'm about to send you a report where actually we have a $65,000 payment going to them. Those are delivered directly to OCES. I don't put those through the post office.
They're
Literally
literally
around
up
the
the
corner,
street.
so we just take those directly over.
So what I would recommend, and we can do this at the next finance meeting, let us do a little bit of some research, obviously, right? The question of cybersecurity, we've worked with Right Technology. In fact, part of the audit, there's a whole question that goes to our IT about what we do and what we have in place to protect. you know, I think what I'm hearing from council members, and we have done the conversations internally, is, you know, for us to be really careful, and, you know, particularly a larger scale amount, that we, again, we can rely on sending it by way of ACH, but that still may not be, I think it's always subject to, you know, we always are looking for warning for cybersecurity, so. So we'll keep an eye, and I think just generally, and maybe I will do a little bit more research too with Right Technology, making sure we have the most up-to-date protection, not only relying on Rockland Trust with Positive Pay, but internally, if there's anything else that we need to do on our end.
Right.
So we kind of combined the two topics of the agenda, the fraudulent incident, and then also the wire ACH transferability. I don't think we need an action on it because Christine, as a treasurer, she signed off on that. And that really is the only one. Otherwise, when we get payments, they're direct payments from the state that goes AAA as well as other deposits for, you know, monthly Mass DOT
their
contracts.
ATMs,
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I know ACH, we think is so much clearer because it's a bank to bank. I just, I hear such horror stories on the cybersecurity side that I always think a mail sent via overnight delivery is safer. And I guess the answer is we just have to be cautious on all fronts.
And I think that's why Lee's question in terms of the delivery services, and for us to take a little look into that to see if one highlights and what sort of protections and things of that nature besides the insurance piece. So we will do a little bit more investigation on our end, but it's an important one, and appreciate the council members' concern as we move forward and, you know, again, continue conversation. We, on that note, we signed a 3-year contract with Right Technology. It's related. They have been bought out by another company. Their staff will remain in place, and but we have a 3-year contract that locks us in at the current rate for at least the next 3 years. So it has not been price changed, but we will be consulting with them on cybersecurity. And on that note, staff gets training about it as well, not to open up emails. And recently, we've just had a conversation with, you know, a staff member who wants to use a Mac instead of the OCPC laptop. But that opens up a whole security issue. So we're having, it's daily conversations. We will continue to keep them on the forefront. And we've, you know, I will once again to this council, the staff does an amazing job, and more news to come, but we just heard yesterday of another grant that we received. It's embargoed until they tell us it's not embargoed, so I'll leave it at that, but it's again in the workforce level. Amazing work by everybody working as a team, so thank
And
you. That's all that I have.
Have you guys started working on the innovation transportation grant?
Yes, yes, we have. So in the staff report, only because I know this is executive committee, but in the staff report, we've talked about it. Paul, the contract should be coming. We've done scope of work, conversations with Federal Highway. They've been very responsive. So we're in that behind the scenes, working on language and criteria and all the nuts and bolts, and that I think, right, Charlie, wrote August, by September, we should be able to.
Yeah, we're still working on, we still do not have a executed grant agreement.
Right.
And that's what we've been working on in the back end, but we haven't put out RFP out, so we actually haven't technically been working on the actual work product.
Because if we do, we don't get paid for any of the time that we put into this. Until we have a signed contract, we cannot go backwards on that, but it's a 2-year grant, and what I will do, just because you've asked, we will, I'll just have maybe a little summary in advance of the next time we meet. It's big news, and Becky, you had raised it to me that we had placed the announcement in our newsletter, but we did talk at the last meeting about doing something a little bit more focused, just to put it back on people's plate. It's a big deal. This $1.9 million is a big deal. We're one of 16 across the country to get this. Boston was the, was it MAPC or Boston?
Boston MPO.
Yeah, Boston MPO was the only other one. So to your point, we will, provide, it's in the staff report, but we'll provide maybe just a little bit of a, about what we're using the money for, and the other elements of the scope of work.
Well, I just know with a lot of, negative stuff coming out, it's really nice to have something positive to talk about
Agreed.
coming out in the way of innovation. And it's a really positive message for us and just all around to make people feel that things are happening.
I totally agree. We will get that. Thank you. And at any time, any council member can get a hold of any staff member, myself. We're looking forward. It's all great things.
Anybody
And well, you, we're doing,
other questions or comments about what's
Actually,
going on?
Becky, if I could, I'm just gonna put a plug. You'll be contacted by Emmanuel for headshots. We're doing a focus on our board members and the towns and the communities that we represent. So, right now, we were gonna go to Avon, but we're not quite ready yet. I'm not sure if we have, do we have a headshot of John?
We still need to.
Yeah.
Follow up.
So if you have a headshot, please send it along to Emmanuel.
And bios.
And bios too. And otherwise we'll create one for you.
Is this a,
That's my
like a
plug.
restart of what we used to do before?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, because I know that I did one and then there was like a lull. And then,
Yes,
oh, yeah.
yes, it was. It was
We
under.
don't want a lull.
It was under, well, what happened was, I think it was a bit of some COVID stuff going on maybe, because Christine, when you were president, that was, the idea you brought forward. And so, we're always looking for content. And at one point I just said, we're doing the council members and the community. So, if you provide it before in the past, please provide it again. And Emmanuel is gonna be the point of contact for us for receiving them. So, and if you don't get it, I'm gonna hound you. Lee.
We have, maybe we should go in we were talking about going by towns, but I wonder if we should go in the number of years on the council so that we make sure that we cover people before they do things like retiring.
There we go. I think that's I think that's the president's ability, authority to in fact tell us which way we should go. So Lee, send us your bio and
I'm
your
looking at your bio right now.
Thank you, Lee, because it really is, the number of years that people have put into the council and the amount of experience that's on the council board, working with the team of professionals. I really think that, we want to make sure that, Plymouth is pretty far down the list by alphabetical on the town list. And I want to make sure that we get that out,
Agreed.
because, and who knows what happens,
is.
other people retire or move on, so.
That is correct. So Lee, I think that's a great choice. So thank you. That was one of the items I put in the email. And then the other item really has been, had a great conversation with Representative Plouffe in terms of the tragic fire in Fall River. And she said she's gonna be talking to our legislators in our region about holding a meeting with us just to talk about the scenario, the fact that, there's only one ombudsman for the assisted living, right? There's 1.5 for the long-term care. So we'll, through the legislative committee, we'll do that. Noreen, sent her appreciation to the flowers that were sent by the council. I talked to her about once a week, and, she has some good days and bad days, but she's continues to be, moving forward with her treatment and, appreciates all the prayers and well wishes. Trying to think what else I put on there. I think I covered everything. Anyway, I don't anticipate any meetings in August. I think this was sort of the odyssey and the fraudulent, so. And besides that, Christine, you're going on some time off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do
Madam
you call it
President, I think-
vacation when you're retired?
Yeah, still vacation in your retire. Yeah.
And Madam President, I think that's it. I promise there is no other business that I,
Okay, well, I thank everyone for getting on. If nobody has any other comments, I'm looking around, I don't see anybody willing to talk, so if we have a motion to adjourn,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your summer, however you spend it.
have a
See you in
great summer.
September.
See you
Yeah,
in
Thank you.
September. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.